He wakes up as a different person. Every day, every morning, he wakes up with memories that are not his, not like dreams, not blurry, not distorted, but clear, complete, detailed. He knows what it feels like to kiss someone he has never met. He knows what it feels like to rock a child to sleep that he does not have. He remembers arguments he never had, birthdays he never celebrated, mistakes he never made, and yet they feel real. The first time he tells himself it is stress. The second time he calls it coincidence. The third time he stops talking about it. Because how do you explain that you wake up with the grief of a stranger's life inside your chest? On Monday, he wakes up as a 42-year-old man. He knows he worked in a warehouse for most of his life, that his marriage slowly fell apart. Not because of screaming, not because of betrayal, but because of silence. He remembers how his wife used to laugh in the kitchen, and how that laughter became quieter every year. He remembers the exact moment he realized she no longer loved him. There was no fight, no dramatic goodbye, just an evening on the couch, where he suddenly understood that he no longer knew the person beside him. He feels the emptiness, the regret, the question, could I have done something differently? Then he opens his eyes. He is 27, single, in a small apartment, no wife, no warehouse job, but the sadness stays with him for hours. On Tuesday, he wakes up as a 16-year-old girl. He knows what it feels like to hate your body. He knows what it feels like to compare yourself to everyone else. He knows what it feels like to want to be noticed and be terrified of being seen. He remembers standing in front of the mirror every night thinking, I exist, but nobody really sees me. He feels her shame, her hope, her quiet wish that someone would choose her. Then he wakes up, back in his own body, but his hands are shaking. After 2 weeks, he starts seeing patterns. Every morning, a different life, different age, different gender, different place, but always human, always familiar, always filled with longing, regret, hope, and fear. He starts writing everything down, not to understand it, but to stay sane. Some lives are short. A boy who dies in a car accident at 18. He remembers the sound of metal folding, the feeling of weightlessness, and then nothing. He wakes up gasping for air. Other lives are long. An 83-year-old woman looking back on her life. She remembers her first love, her second love, her third love, and how none of them stayed. She remembers learning how to be alone, not because she wanted to, but because she had to. He feels her peace and her quiet regret. After a month, something becomes clear. These are not characters. They feel too real, too consistent, too complete. They have memories inside their memories, as if he is not dreaming, but remembering. He stops talking to his friends. How do you tell someone you sometimes wake up as a widow in Japan, or a homeless man in Paris, or a child in a war you do not recognize? So he stays silent, and every morning a small part of him disappears, not physically, but existentially. One morning, he wakes up as someone who looks exactly like him. Same apartment, same age, same job, but with one difference. In that life, he once had the courage to tell someone he loved her. They are together now, not perfect, but real. He feels what it is like to wake up next to her, to hear her breathing, to smell her hair. He feels a happiness he does not have in his own life. When he wakes up in his real bed, he stares at the empty space beside him and cries. From that moment on, everything changes. He realizes some lives are better than his, Some are worse, some are simply different, but all of them are possible, and that thought makes him sick. A question starts growing inside him. What if these memories are not random? What if they are all versions of the same consciousness that made different choices? What if he is not one person? What if he is everyone? The thought keeps expanding until one night he does not become anyone else. He lies awake in the dark, no memories, no visions, no other lives, only his own thoughts, and that terrifies him. The next morning it happens. He wakes up with nothing, no new life, no foreign memories. His mind is silent, empty, clean. He feels relieved, and yet grief, as if millions of people vanished at once. Days pass, nothing returns, no other lives. He tries to live normally, but something feels broken, as if something essential is missing. 2 weeks later, he dreams, not of a life, not of a memory, but of a place, an endless white space, no walls, no ceiling, no floor, only light. Someone stands in front of him, not male, not female, not young, not old. The being does not speak, but he understands anyway. You remembered what you are, he asks. What am I? The answer comes, consciousness without form. Images flood his mind, not lives, choices. He sees infinite paths, every decision splitting into more. He sees himself as an artist, as a father, as a criminal, as a hero, as nobody, everything at once. He understands. He was never meant to be one person. He was once everything, but he chose limitation. He chose to be human, to experience a single perspective, to forget. He asks, why did I remember? The being answers, because you started to believe your life had no meaning. He wakes up, in his bed, sweat on his skin, heart racing, no other memories, no other lives, only himself, but something is different. He makes coffee, stares out the window. The world looks the same, but he does not. He understands something simple. Maybe he is not special. Maybe nobody was ever meant to remember everything. Maybe being human is not knowing who you could have been. It never happens again. No other lives, no strange memories. But sometimes, when he passes strangers on the street, he feels a faint recognition, as if he is walking past himself in another story. And sometimes, right before falling asleep, he thinks, maybe I am not only this person, maybe I am a choice, maybe I am one possible version of something infinite.